Hi, boys and girls. I am going to be reading chapter 16 in your reader to you, and I would like you to follow along in your reader. When we are finished with that, I'm going to explain activity book page 12.1. So you're going to listen to the read aloud and then complete activity book 12.1. So we've talked about the decline of the ancient Roman Empire, and now we're going to be talking about the Western and Eastern empires, Western and Eastern empires. So it declined as a whole empire, and now we have Western and Eastern. So listen as I read. In the previous lesson, you learned about the many invasions that led to the decline of Rome. You learned that the Roman armies had become weak compared to the days of Julius and Augustus Caesar, and that they relied on paid soldiers or mercenaries to protect Rome. Say that word with me, mercenaries. You also learned about how the Roman emperors and senators wasted lots of money on bread and circuses, gladiator games, chariot races, and other luxuries, but did not spend money on the things that would keep Rome safe. So down at the bottom of the picture at the bottom, you see there's mercenary soldiers. Looks like they're leaving the city. I wonder why they might be leaving the city. Here we have at the top a map of Rome at its largest extent. So that's all of Rome there in the yellow and yellowish green. The Roman Empire simply became too vast, too large to handle. It was impossible for a single emperor working with senators and proconsuls to control everything that was happening over thousands of miles of Roman territory. And there were many selfish emperors as well. The governors and generals in charge of the Roman provinces could do as they pleased. Over the course of many years, Rome itself became less and less important to the people who lived in and ruled the Roman provinces, which stretched from Italy to the surrounding areas of England, France, Spain, North Africa, and the Middle East. Here's a map of the Roman Empire divided into the East and the West. So you can see the red is the Western Empire, the yellow is the Eastern Empire. Roman culture changed in important ways as well. We know that the Romans always tried to bring their own laws, lifestyle, and culture to the countries or tribes they conquered. At the same time, the Romans ended up adopting or taking on parts of the cultures that they conquered. In other words, even though the Romans had their own culture and traditions, they also picked up new ideas and customs from the people they met in faraway places. Around this same time, the empire itself was going through another big change. The Roman Empire was so vast and so complex that it needed to be divided into two parts: the Western Roman Empire, with Rome as its capital, and the Eastern Roman Empire. The Eastern Roman Empire would be ruled from a new capital city called Constantinople. Say that with me, Constantinople. Constantinople was named after an important Roman leader. His name was Constantine the Great. Constantine brought new hope and confidence to many Romans. His new city of Constantinople was a chance at a fresh start. Even with this new start, politics were just as difficult in the Eastern Empire as they had been in Rome. Under Constantine's rule, there was still conflict and warfare. Meanwhile, the city of Rome remained the center of the Western Roman Empire as well as the center of Christianity. The political situation in Rome was worse than ever. Emperors came and went, and many politicians could hardly agree on anything. Worst of all, wars were breaking out in the north as more and more surrounding tribes started looking for new homes on Roman land. Eventually, the Eastern Roman Empire completely separated from the Western Roman Empire. Once separated, it wasn't called the Eastern Roman Empire anymore. By 410 CE Common Era, the Eastern Empire was known as the Byzantine Empire. This photo shows the most famous Byzantine church. And I'm not sure if I'm saying this right, the Hagia Sophia. The Byzantines built many churches, but none compared to the Hagia Sophia, which is still standing today after more than 1,600 years. By 500 CE, the Western Empire had fallen apart, with most of the provinces falling to one barbarian tribe or another. A Byzantine emperor, Justinian, raised a mighty army and marched west to reconquer the Western province, thus waging new wars in the same areas Julius Caesar and Augustus Caesar had been hundreds of years earlier. As emperor, he developed a body of Roman laws called the Justinian Code. The Justinian Code was a collection of past laws from previous emperors, in addition to laws he developed himself. The Justinian Code is one of Justinian's major accomplishments as emperor. Justinian appears in the center of this mosaic, which you can see today in an Italian church. The Western Empire in Europe, from Italy across France and Germany and all the way to Britain, drifted into a long, sad period without leadership and vision from the powers of Rome. The glorious Roman Empire finally came to an end. So boys and girls, what you're going to do now is you're going to turn to Activity Book 12.1, and you're looking at this map, which is in your reader on page 131. So you can look at that picture on 131 to see the colors. And you're going to answer the questions below. There's 4 questions, so make sure that you answer the 2 here and the 2 on the back. Okay? Grace, Matthew, Piper, a bunch of others of you, Violet W., who are only submitting part of your work. Make sure you do all 4 questions. And the directions say to write one sentence explaining why the Roman Empire split into 2 parts. Okay? So number 1 says, what does the image show? So what are we looking at? And that is, it's the same picture as 131. So part of it's yellow and part of it's green. Why do you think the image was included? So why did, actually, I think it might be the one on 132, so we can see the Western and Eastern hemispheres, empires. Why do you think the image was included? You could start that by saying the image was included because, okay? On the back, question 3 says, do you think this image is important to the text? Is this map important to us understanding the text? You can't just say yes or no. You have to say yes, it's important because, or no, it's not important because. You won't get credit if you answer just yes or no. And number 4, write one sentence explaining why the Roman Empire split into 2 parts. So you might need to go back and do some rereading in the chapter. But question number 4, write one sentence explaining why the Roman Empire split into 2 parts. I look forward to seeing your work, boys and girls. Remember, complete sentences.